Hi, it's Carrie. So today I want to talk to you about the subconscious mind. And this is massive, actually. So we're going to just do a little snippet of this. But this is something that really does run your life. And you probably don't even know it. You probably don't think about it. The subconscious mind is in control most of the time. And we just let it run. So I thought today we would talk about what the subconscious mind actually is, explain that, and then also ways you can reprogram the subconscious mind, discuss a little bit about how it affects your life, and some differences between different parts of the mind. So, yeah, let's get started. The reason I kind of really got into this was when I started training in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and it made me become aware of some of the thoughts, the fears, the beliefs that were perhaps limiting me were running my life. And so you do quite a lot of work when you train as a coach in these things, and you work on yourself. And so I've worked on lots of things, but one of the issues that really sticks in my mind is that I wasn't a good enough driver to drive on the motorways. I'm sure that's quite a common thing, but it was restricting me. So what I didn't realize was there was a program running in my subconscious mind. And when you use things like NLP and hypnosis, you're working on that part of the mind to reprogram. And that's how really it came into my mind that we have these amazingly deep programs that are just running us. So let's talk about the subconscious mind. What is it? It's this part of you that's going and that's working quietly in the background. Think of it as like a warehouse. You can't possibly think of all these things at the same time, all the things that have happened in the past, all your memories, all your beliefs, all your habits, all your emotions, all the things that make you you that have happened up until this point in time are stored in a warehouse. And that warehouse is your subconscious mind. Think of it like that. So these things aren't really loud. They're not in your face. They're not necessarily day to day conscious things, but they're there and they're not obvious, but they are very powerful. So this stuff isn't just random. It's been collected over the years. Mostly we're programmed by the time we're 7. We're like little sponges walking around because we're in a different, slower brainwave state called theta state. And during that time is when we get programmed. We absorb everything around us, the things that people tell us, that we're taught, that we're seeing. This can be, like I say, beliefs. It could be behaviors, emotions. It comes from people like your parents or guardians, your teachers, your friends, your siblings, society, the things you read, hear, see, and you don't actually filter it. You just take it in as truth. So the first thing to really be aware of is that the subconscious mind doesn't know a lie from the truth. It just absorbs it, and it's in there. And what happens then is all that programming that happened without you even realizing becomes your default. And unless you consciously choose to change it, it will run your life on autopilot. And the scary thing to know is that we have something like 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And science has shown us that about 90 to 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that you had yesterday. So what you're thinking about is literally on rinse and repeat. So you can see that you are stuck in the same position because of this. And so that's your subconscious mind doing its thing. It really loves efficiency and keeping things nice and tidy, routine. So it just keeps pressing play on all those early programs and beliefs. And the thing is, it's absolutely wonderful if those thoughts are empowering, they're amazing, they're positive. But if they're negative or out of date, you get stuck in a really negative spiral. And it's a bit like you're in Groundhog Day, you know, that movie with Bill Murray where he's repeating the same day over and over. You're like that. And so it's not so bad when it's positive, but when it's negative, it could be terrible. So now you know that this is happening. What you really need to understand is how you can go about reprogramming it. So I think it's really important, firstly, that you notice. You need to become aware and conscious that you're doing these things, these patterns, that you're unhappy with it, and also become aware that you can do something about it. It doesn't mean that you've got a life sentence. These things were programmed in and they can be programmed out. So imagine you're like, you know, when you've got out of date apps that are running on your phone and they're just not really operating as well as you want them to. That's exactly the same as your brain, your mind. You can reprogram that subconscious mind. So the ways in which you can do that are, there's a few really. You need to get quiet and still because you need to get back into that brainwave state that I was talking to you about just a moment ago, where you're in a trance really. You're in a theta brainwave state, which is a lot slower. And that's when the doorway to the subconscious mind swings wide open and you can go in there and update the app, reprogram it with something better. Remember, the subconscious mind doesn't know what's lie or the truth. So you can tell it what you want, give it something positive, and it will hold on to it and it will keep running it. And over time, it will just become who you are and habitual. So the ways you can reprogram your subconscious mind are through things like getting quiet with meditation. NLP, as I've already mentioned, is very good for things like fears and phobias and anything that's kind of limiting beliefs, holding you and keeping you stuck. But also hypnosis, because there's such a wide range of things that you can do. You're making suggestions to the subconscious mind and it will say, okay, and it will take it on. So that's great. But also journaling, because I love journaling, when you become aware of what you're actually doing and thinking, then you're in a position to be able to change it. You know, you're halfway there and you can say, is this really how I want to be running? Is this how I want this to be? And who says this is right? And how do I know this is true? And you can really work around it and look at it from all different angles. So it's very much a conscious sort of process. But you can also do things like affirmations to help you reprogram. So these are very much I am statements. They're very much about positive, imagining how you are, assuming that the work and the change work is already happening. So they're kind of like pushing you into the future. And those are the sorts of things you can repeat over and over again, these I am statements. So it's imagining that you're already living in the way you want to be. So you can absolutely change these programs by working to reprogram with some of these tools. And it's, I think, really important to work on yourself. It is the greatest work you'll ever do because this stuff affects your life massively. The subconscious mind shapes everything from how you feel, how you react, you know, your behaviors, and then your outcomes, what you're attracting. And, you know, if you are in a negative mindset, then you might be thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. And as a result of that, you're going to keep finding proof in there. But if you believe really good things, the same thing is going to happen. You're going to find proof. And which one would you rather be? You know, it's a mirror and it's going to reflect everything that you believe. So it's really worthwhile carving out time to do this work. Some of it might be uncomfortable, but actually these tools that I've mentioned, you know, NLP, etc., they're actually very gentle and very quick. And something that may have been bothering you for your lifetime is suddenly gone within an hour or two, which is amazing, really. So the other thing often we get asked, or I get asked, and I think about is a little bit about the layers of the mind. And I just thought I'd end with that, just so that, you know, it's clear. It's something I wasn't sure about, and you might not be aware of either. So I wanted to break down 3 different levels of the mind. And so we've got the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. So I'm just going to break those down a little bit just to make a bit more sense. So the conscious mind is things that you're aware of right now. For things like, oh, I need to feed the dog. Do that later. That's a conscious thought that's come into your awareness. We can't really cope with much in the conscious mind. It's incredibly powerful, but it does actually filter and delete and distort things that come in. Otherwise, your head might pop off because you have too many thoughts. So the best example I can give you of this is, when you're like reading a book and you don't notice it's raining and you don't hear the clock because you're absorbed in the book and your mind is taking you into the story. So other things fall away, and that's what I mean about the fact it sort of distorts, deletes, etc., so that you don't become overwhelmed. So that's the conscious mind. It's really what you're thinking about here and now and being kind of aware of in your immediate environment. And the subconscious mind, as I've said, it's the stuff below the surface. It's this warehouse, and it's what's shaping your habits, your triggers, and your emotional reactions and the outcomes that you keep achieving. And then there's a slightly deeper level, which is the unconscious mind, and that's deeper again. Imagine, the conscious mind is like the iceberg that sticks out of the water and you can see it, and then just a little bit below the surface of the water is the subconscious mind, and then in the depths is the unconscious mind. And often that's things that have been repressed, such as memories and trauma and instincts, and you don't actually go this deep unless you go into things like therapy or healing work. So yeah, just I know that was an area of confusion. I hope that makes a bit more sense. But yeah, your subconscious mind is totally neutral. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't filter things. It just plays what you put into it on repeat. And if you really want to change your life, you don't need to fight yourself, beat yourself up about it. You just need to change the input. So it's like I say, update that app. So look for things. If you notice that you're in a pattern, or you've got triggers, or the same setbacks keep happening, or like the loops, and you're really done with them, that is your time and your sign to reprogram yourself and the subconscious mind. Anyway, hope that's useful, and yeah, look into it in a bit more detail, and perhaps get that meditation app started to give you the time to become conscious of what it is that you're really doing and thinking over and over in a loop.